Hi, my name is James, and I will be doing the I'll be doing a brief history, more of like a synopsis. Not gonna really call myself an expert at this, but did a little bit of research, and I feel like I have enough to talk about. A little bit of in between the Edwardian period and the start and ending of the World War One and the effects of it in costume history. So right now we're seeing a timeline of kind of the most important events. We got women's wear daily begins publication, which will kind of influence fashion for women. We have the Veron and Iron Castle success as a dance team, which helps launch a dance craze in the United States, which really was like a little catalyst for women to dress their daughters into tunics and things like that, and get them into ballet, which was fun. I don't do ballet. I hear ballet is really good for flexibility. But anyways, 1912, Woodrow Wilson was elected president. If you didn't know history like as much as I do, I kind of always forget about this guy. But 1914, the outbreak of the Great War, or known as World War One, because we have a second Great War. It impacts availability of colors and fabrics for clothing. These mourning dresses lessened due to the number of casualties from World War One. The United States actually enters the war in only 1917, and then the war ends in 1918, which is kind of odd in my opinion. I was like, I don't know if we really had to do that much, but it is what it is. So now we get into about the production of, and kind of how like the production really helped the cases of clothing, of fashion and clothing. We get like first starts people started to buy clothes from department stores, which wasn't really much of a thing beforehand. Clothing was usually tailor made or made by requested and things. People were getting clothes that were made for them, but now they were getting clothes that was made for everybody. You could go to a department store or buy your shoes, your dresses, everything like that, you know. And then the impact of the war was very interesting, mainly due to what fashions that stated. People's hairs changed, fashion itself slightly changed, mainly due to women being in the workforce now, which was awesome because where would we be without women support helping doing the actual labor part while the guys are out dying at the age of like what was it 14, between 6 through 14 and up, just dying and all that for war. I mean, don't even want to get me started on like World War II and stuff like that, and Vietnam. Oh God, the Vietnam War. But and then magazines and films was also a huge influence in fashion, as in people started to see what you could definitely wear instead of just going outside and be like, oh, is that the latest trend when someone's walking down the street. It's more of like, oh, I saw that on the big picture, now I want to be in that too. And then we also have like, this kind of mini rapid change in fashion. We started to, start picking up pace, as in like our current present time, where fashion changes almost year to year to year. These was more like, they were gradual, but it wasn't, too drastic, but they were changes that had significance. All right, we're gonna start off things with women's dress around the 1910s. English, it's la-di-da crap. Um, During this period, it's kind of getting that whole idea of like that thin waistline, um, which, that's cool, but I mean, like, anyone could be whatever shape they want to be. Didn't really care about the hourglass figure. Doesn't really bother me, but I'm a dude, so what do I have much to say about that? But as you can see, we have these peg top skirts and hobble skirts. And what kind of these things were was more of like they had a little fullness at the hips, and then it's restrictions of the leg, right? Like no joke, like what was it? What's his name? Yeah, Poet, Poetet, Poret designed like the hobble skirt, and he was like, he stated himself, he was like, I had freed the bosom, chained the legs, and created freedom. And I'm like, I don't really know, but like, I get it. It is a very, it's a very more of like an evening kind of dress, you know. This isn't something you would be seeing a woman go full sprinting in or anything. But it did tighten it up. It showed, you know, more of like how really thin the women were. The what are they called? The sleeves were also kind of like you could see like these little sleeves here. They have little cuffs, but then there was some like these sleeves here where they kind of like tightened a little bit, you know. So it was more of this figure of kind of like encasing the women into like these tight figures, which was, you know, showed like their, you know, their skinniness and their attractness. They were, you know, the by 1909, the S-shaped curve of the Edwardian period was replaced with more of a straight line. So it wasn't more of a curve, but more per se, it was more like a straight line, you know? Yeah, you all know, y'all know. We got this is interesting. The minaret, minaret. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Tunic. I kind of wanted this one. I was just more like I was more intrigued by what it looked like, and I was like, I like this. Funny enough, it looks, you know, from what I see, I'm looking at like a lamppost. I'm looking at like a lampshade, you know, and I think that's super funny. But it really did was just, you know, it was a wide tunic, bonded to hold out the skirt in a full circle and worn over the narrowness of the hoblets. It's, you know, another outside part of it instead of, you know, just the super tight hobble skirt and your limited movement. You got this little bit of a lampshade you throw on. You know, it's one of those things where it's like they were like, huh, what can I take this hula hoop and I just lower it and put clothing on the side. You get this little cool little lampshade effect, and bam, boom, it's fashion, baby. Really, I don't understand much. I don't understand fashion trends, as you guys probably know, but this one I can get behind. This one looks, I like it. Interesting. All right, headdresses, women's headdresses. Oh man. Um, it was always interesting with women's hairdresses. They actually during when they were working in the workforce, their hair had to be a little shorter because, you know, production lines, things like that, dangerous things. Hairs were shorter. Before then, there was a little bit more. There was some fullness in them. They were waved and soft around the face and pulled to a soft roll to the back and towards the top of the head. So like you could see like the left and the right picture. But then it got a little shorter and closer to the face during when women were going into the workforces. Now they also wore these large hats, which, to tell you the truth, hats to me don't really make sense. I wear like certain hats, but not really a lot. But these really wide, large, they were really wide and had these accessories, mostly like feathers and pretty much poor feathers, man, poor birds, but mostly were fake, like artificial flowers, feathers, and ribbons, just really showing, you know, a little bit of wealth. Like, hey, I got this huge hat. You know, we take it like, you know, as in throughout history, they say, you know, the bigger the hat you will have, the bigger amount of money you have, I guess. Super weird, don't understand it, but if you gotta flex, you might as well flex, right? So, but as towards the production, towards more of the, you know, during the war and things, hats were more or less like let's just go a little bit higher, not to be so wide, and you know, that was before, you know, and we're smaller, but you know, now it's more or less just when you kind of see. Actually, now you if you ever see like a woman out in like with like a big hat, it's kind of like a vintage trend thing, and it's like, whoa, I want to be in that hat, you know. I don't, maybe. I could probably pull off a woman's hat. Who knows? We got some accessories that were really interesting. I mean, parcels, in my opinion, parcels are cool. I mean, if I just see, if she was like in all black with a parcel, I would be like, nice. We also get these handbags. There were certain kinds. You know, the trend of starting to get purses and things because, you know, you don't have pockets, ladies. I'm sorry. I wish they'd make pockets for you girls, but really they want to sell you purses, and I'm sorry. I really can't change much of that. I have no influence in fashion. And then we have these ostrich feather fans, which honestly, if someone was like, I need to cool off and pull this out, I'd be like, damn, who'd you kill for that one? But really, all in all, it's more just, again, well, getting these ostrich feather fans makes you feel like, you're on top of the world. Men, God, do we not know jack squat about really anything? I'll tell you that much. Before and a little bit during the war, men's fashion is kind of what we see in more of formal dressing now. Um, with these like these sports coat jackets and coats, more or less, just kind of has that formal feeling. It's not anymore about like yeah, it just feels like for men it was like, hey, let's look like we have some business to take care of. It's always seemed like we're doing something cool or something good. Really, more or less, men were just like, hey, our fashion is going to be mostly just us in suits. That's it. Women, you girls can do whatever you want. Guys were just like, hey, as long as I got my suit and tie, I'm calling it a day. Which is by far, I feel I want to be like, I kind of want to get into a fashion of semi-formal, but that seems like a hassle. We got these jumpers, which were really for like riding. I mean, look at this thing. Like, like, yeah, it was really meant for like horse riding and things like that. It wasn't really not much for, everyday fashion. But if you were going for a ride, slap on these boys and you'll be free as the wind. I hope I haven't wore those. And then we have some introductions of blazers. There's actually earlier sets of blazers, but these come into fashion. More or less, men's dress was more like tailored suits, um, kind of butlery outfits. They were like, hey, let's just pick one thing and stick with it. Really, that's pretty much it for men. It's not too much change from what I was researching. Ooh, I love men's headdresses. I love this. I love the straw border. If you ever seen barbershop guys, mostly you'll see them in like the straw border hats, and I think those are pinnacle fashion. Like that's where life, that's where men started to really take hold of who they were. Was when they got the straw border hats. Like nothing gives me more joy than seeing a quartet or a bunch of choruses, and it's just a bunch of dudes in straw border hats, and I was like, those guys mean business. But men's hair, of course, short during the war, because they're like, hey, you're off to the army, you get like two styles, pick one of them. Ah, you said buzz cut, you didn't say buzz cut, too bad, buzz cut it is. And I felt, oh man, I used to get buzz cuts, and I now regret my mother ever letting me choose, or my mom picking my hairstyle. And then we also get these Stetson hats, which were, when I saw these, I was like, man, these look like just park ranger hats, more or less. But they do have these little like curves and forms and these crevices, which really just, was an old fashion trend. Something guys just guys were like, "Hey, women are wearing hats. We should have something." And then they were like, "This is what we got." And they're like, "We'll call it a day there." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." We have walking sticks, which only became more popularized when the automobile became more accessible. But they were like, "Hey, we should definitely have walking sticks." I really don't know why. I genuinely can't think of any good reason why you need a walking stick. I mean, unless you can't really walk. Yeah, that's more of a reason you could use a walking stick. But other accessories for men were just gloves, handkerchiefs, and scarves. I mean, when it comes to like the like bows and stuff, the ascot was kind of a popular thing, which I'm like, Freddie, stop it. No one cares about your ascot. Wristwatches actually became popular due mainly because of the war. everyone, they had these pull-out pocket watches with chains. Those were cool. I don't know why we got rid of them. Actually, I know why. Because of the war. Everyone was like, I can't pull out my pocket watch in the middle of combat or, middle of a trench and stuff. So it's easier for them just to look at their wrist. And rich watches, well, after the war, transitioned into fashion because it was just something that the guys were used to wearing. So rich watches became popular in this time, which was, not bad. Not bad. I like my watch. Children. Poor kiddos. Sometimes I just wish they just let them be whatever they want. But they're you ever hear the kids in like sailor outfits and things? Yeah, it's around this time period. For some of the for the girls, they had like knee-length skirts. They had belts that kind of went down to more of the waist. As they got more into their teenage years, they got more into what the fashion of women could be in, but they had like these wide. You could see like right now the girls have like these wide collars, mainly just wide collars. That's how they were like, yeah, this is for girls. And the men, the little boys, look at these little trying to be little men boys, kind of giving me like those paper route boy feels. But of course they try to take over what like boys. Really weird thing is like after you turn like 12 or something, they're like, you're a man now. And I'm like, bro, chill. He's 12. He's not going to do anything. And they're like, he's old enough to shoot a gun. And I'm like, what? Anyways, that's more or less the fashion of children. It was for the men, for the boys, it was really simple. Women, for the girls, they had, other styles and, tunics, things like that. But more or less, it was simplified for children. And then as they grew up to the adults, the men were just even super simpler. The women were like, we're gonna have fun. And I was like, go for it. Footwear, we have like it mostly not really, as you can see, like there's not much drastic change. For the women, it's more like pointed and heels. They got these little pointed shoes. For the men, they were just like, hey, we got round shoes, and there's they didn't it was more just like rounded shoes. So which was pretty cool in my opinion. Not gonna lie, I'm just like, yeah, should have invented Nike way earlier. Things would have been fine, but it's fine. It is what it is. I'm very biased about what I wear. Entertainment. My last slide. I just really wanted to talk about really like entertainment itself and how we had movies were influencing so much of what people saw in war. I mean, look at the Birth of a Nation. The Ku Klux Klan was gone for a while, but Birth of a Nation was like, hey, bring them back. And we're like, why? Like, we get it. The part it symbolized the great for war, great for understanding what's happening. Great, I heard it's a great film, but then they had to ruin African Americans, my man. It's just, they're still around to this day, which is terrifying. But on to that note, we have one of the most famous comedians, Charlie Chaplin, coming out. And he came premiere 1908, so I'll give him credit, but he was more influential around this time where it mostly became gained more popularity. He even had like certain films where he was actually in war, and that's something get people entertained about war, which is, oh god, we're so entertained by war. But and then we have the show's follow that was running from I think 1906 to 1918. I think that was I'm blanking on it right now, but more or less, entertainment itself had a drastic change in silent film, and this is around the time where I think yeah, talkies were coming out. Yes, uh, I'm blanking on the name, but it came out in 1903. Catherine, you'll definitely know this, but more or less, the influence of film, music, uh, magazines and things had such a drastic effect on fashion because this is what people saw. They were like, I see that. I can see what it looks like. I can see what I can go out and get to match and look like that. That's just how it is. But thank you for watching my complete summary of 1910 to 1919. Most likely, this information will be mostly useful for about one other person. But thank you all for listening, and good luck with everything else. Bye.